like a lassie. My shit, your shit, set up feeling so alive. Coffee in the morning, it is the best way to survive. Woke up in the morning, sleepy eyes yawning. Jumped out of bed, started the day, opened the curtains. Felt the cool breeze, the sun shining on my face. But something was missing, I needed my job to chase. Give me coffee in the morning, give me coffee in the morning. Gotta have the coffee, wake me up, shake me up, dip me like a lassie. One sip, two sips, and I'm feeling so alive. Coffee in the morning, it is the best way to survive. Give me coffee in the morning.
Sorry about that. I thought I was already added to the stage. I better get woke. Let me get up here. All right, sorry about that. Technical difficulty this morning. I had to get a new mouse, and it's like got a mind of its own, so it threw me completely out of the stream. But I'm back. So good morning, welcome in everybody. This is our morning show, True Crime Conversations with Coffee. Normally Joe would be here, but I think Joe is streaming a trial this morning, so he may pop in a little while. I'm not sure what all he's got going on this morning, but we're here and we're going to have our coffee and some true crime this morning. How are you guys doing? Let me get a banner up here. I hope everybody's doing good. It is Monday, right? Yeah. It's Tuesday. Look at that. Dang, I'm like a day off. Can you guys hear me okay? Drinking a 0 sugar soda. I already had my coffee. I hear you, Lindsay. I drink too much coffee. And I don't drink 0 sugar soda, but I do drink Coca-Colas. My daughter likes that 0 sugar. Welcome in. Thank you, Forrest, for being here. So you guys can hear me though, okay? Someone let me know in chat. Great. Thank you, Forrest. I appreciate that. I appreciate it. So we're going to kind of like the other day when we kind of launched the show, it was like a pre-launch and we really just stuck to one subject. This morning we're going to look at a couple of little different things. It's kind of like the morning show is going to be about. We'll just kind of touch on a couple of subjects. Sometimes we might get into a deeper dive than we expected, but that's okay. That's what those conversations are about, right? And if we do come across something that we're like, hey, we want to get into that a little more, we will definitely hold an evening live and take a deeper dive, because we're going to look at a little bit of stuff here from the Delphi and from the Kohberger case. And there was something from Karen Read. Now, I don't follow Karen Read closely. I loosely follow. There were like a lot of police officers, and there was so much going on with that case, and I was so deep into following Delphi, I just didn't have the capacity for it. But I have watched it, on Twitter unfold. And I know there was a new ruling in a Dauber hearing recently that I am interested in that. So we're going to watch a little piece. from Court TV on that. So kind of do case updates. We'll look at trending type true crime stuff, whatever, like a morning show, like a morning news show. But if you guys have any suggestions or any cases you want to talk about, feel free to let me know, and we'll definitely do it. This is a show for all of us. It's not just like me pick out what we follow. I want you guys to, the cases you want to dig into, let us know, and so we can get into that for you. Growler, that's a new face. Hello, welcome in everybody, and thank you all my members and new subscribers. All you members are investigators, and you subscribers are lead investigators, and I appreciate each and every one of you, and for your support, for making me a growing channel. I hit 1,000 subs yesterday, and I wouldn't be able to do that unless you guys weren't here watching and subbing up. So really, really appreciated it. It meant a lot to me. When I started this journey, I've always done true crime, 30 plus years of watching true crime and consuming it, and found it on the YouTube channels and different things. I started a TikTok first, and it was strictly to get out legal documents in Idaho 4, and then it kind of evolved where I just do news clips over there, and so there's a little community over there. But then I came to YouTube full time with it, and I've enjoyed it. The journey's been fun. It's been a learning process for sure. And I'm sure we'll make mistakes, and we'll continue to grow. And we're getting a really great little community here. So we do appreciate all of you for being here. Now, how many of you have followed the Kohberger case? I know a lot of you follow the Delphi stuff, but how many of you actually follow the Bryan Kohberger case? Kind of loosely, half-assed, or... because I follow it from like I do Delphi. So we're going to take one night this week, we're going to take a deep dive into the latest in the Kohberger case. I've done a couple. There's been so many documents dropped lately that I've been trying to read through and pick out the really good information. Because a lot of times they drop new information in these documents that we haven't heard before. There's a hearing coming up this month as well that we're going to be going over. So I want to, if you haven't been following the case, we'll get you caught up to the case and to what's going on. Endless research, right? I was doing that this morning even before I got on. My mornings are just I'm so much more awake and alert in the mornings. By the end of the day, it's like, I'm done. But yeah, doing some research, and it's never ending if you want to put on a decent show, right? You got to have all the updates, or you don't know what you're doing. We may not know what we're doing, but we're going to give it a good darn try. All right, so what I got lined up first, we're going to watch a little piece here on the Kohberger. Okay. It's just a little piece about what the defense has been doing, and not to say what they're doing is bad or anything like that. I'm just saying what, as far as their filings go and different things. Let me get the screen up here. Right, Nina, I'm gonna have to get you up here as my guest one day. I've listened to you on panel, and I enjoyed you, so you need to shoot me an email. Are you on Twitter by any chance? I'm on Twitter, but you can also shoot me an email, saltysleuth@gmail.com. And Forrest, being the great mod that he is, I love you, Forrest. Thank you for all you do here. All right, guys, let's watch this piece here.
The defense in the Idaho murder trial is trying to poke as many holes as it can in the state's case before it even gets to court.
Kohberger's attorneys are requesting the judge toss out key evidence and punish the prosecution for delays. Fox 13's AJ Janovel spoke with a legal expert about what comes next.
Ann Bremner is a local attorney and legal analyst with decades of experience. She tells me it's the defense attorney's job to do whatever they can to raise as many red flags as possible. But the question is, will any of these concerns make a difference? a violation of Bryan Kohberger's Fourth Amendment rights, which protect us against unreasonable searches and seizures. That's why the accused murderer's defense attorney is asking for the judge to throw out a majority of the evidence in this case. Kohberger's attorney says police illegally obtained the alleged killer's DNA through genetic genealogy, as well as illegal evidence from his digital history, including his cell phone data, placing Kohberger at the scene of the murders a dozen times before the actual killings.
In this case, it was, of course, enormously important because that's how they identified Kohberger.
Legal analyst Ann Bremner tells me if the judge sides with the defense, the results will be pivotal.
It's like a house of cards. I mean, this fails, everything fails, and the case is gone.
Bremner tells me the odds of this actually happening are slim.
What we've seen in the courts so far is we haven't seen a successful challenge to the validity of that type of analysis or science.
Bremner says the defense may be fully aware their challenge of the evidence won't go far, but that's not the only reason an attorney raises these concerns.
What they want to do is poke holes at everything in the case.
Bremner tells me even if evidence makes it into the trial, raising early doubts can plant a seed into a jury's mind or have lasting impacts after the verdict.
Every little thing and every big thing that you raise, you have to think about an appeal. Like, well, we may lose this, but that's an appeal. You know, this was a good issue, and we may not win on that, but it's an appeal.
A hearing on the DNA debate, as well as several other aspects of this case, is scheduled for January 23rd. Back to you.
Anya Kane. And
Okay. So they have a discrepancy, well, not a discrepancy, but they are disputing. There was 2 AT&T warrants very early on, and the way they obtained his phone number was well, there's a long story, but they, when they had that stop at the police, a female officer stopped him for his driving, and he had shown his ID, and they had his phone number from that. But how they obtained his phone number has been, what they're trying to say is that illegal evidence obtained from the phone, which is concerning those 12 phone pings. Now, if those 12 phone pings didn't mean anything, because we all know in case you don't know, the prosecutions tried to use that to say that was evidence of a stalking pattern in close to the home 12 times before the murders. But you could be driving in the area, so it's not like that proved anything. Do you know what I mean? Unless it literally proved he was right next to the house during those 12 times, versus driving in the area. So why would they? I understand the need to want to throw all that type of stuff out because it is kind of standard, but they're asking for a lot of evidence to be thrown out, and they're all going as like fruit of the poison tree, which is such a gray area with that IGG because it's allegedly an investigative tool. So if they're using that tool to work backwards down a tree to get to a person of interest, then you investigate that person of interest. And that's been used in other cases. Hell, we wondered why it wasn't done in Delphi. It was caught the Golden State Killer. CC explains the process very well. So if it was a tool, they had to get other evidence, but the DNA on the sheath is kind of the evidence. It's just, I don't know where it's going to go. What do you guys think? You have any thoughts at all? Any of you that have been following it? I know that there's like with Delphi, there's a 50-50 thing. Some people are, supporting Kohberger's defense. Some are supporting prosecution. I'm down the middle. I follow the documents, and try to keep up with it that way, and go by what they're saying, because there's just been so much, the rumor mill's crazy with this case. But but they have dropped a lot of documents that we do intend to go over, because there was a lot of good information released in those documents that you didn't know because of the gag order. And that's one thing the defense in Delphi, got in trouble for with the Franks motion, because, all the sealed stuff, and we saw all of that. Well, so what? The Idaho Franks motion is sealed. We can't see that, but And Taylor's she has a way of being, her and Jay, of being able to put things in their documents that we did not know, right? So reading through those documents have been very interesting, especially to find out some of the newer stuff that we didn't know before. But I'm interested to see how all this plays out, and I will be covering that hearing. I thought about covering it live as it happened, but I think I'm going to wait, let it play. I'll watch it and review it and take some notes, and then come back on live and then play it so we can stop and have some commentary about it, because we're always going to have things to say about it. I know I do. I don't want to stop a live hearing because I'll miss something, and that aggravates me. So, yeah, thank you, Forrest. I appreciate that. Now, most of you have heard, about the what I've been calling the Delphi interviews. We've had the prosecution come out, out of the gate with their little press conference. Then we had Holman just bust a move to get out to social media as fast as he could. Then we finally got a chance to hear from the defense attorneys. Some investigators have also spoke out. And these defense attorneys have taken to social media and mainstream media. Thank goodness they're going to both and not just one, because they've been telling us a lot of new information as well. This is a piece that, because we know we can't play murder shits stuff, we'll get a strike like Joe did over there with HTC or whatever she calls herself, because we played her. We reviewed her interview, Joe and I did, over on his channel, and yeah, he got struck. Sleuthy did the same thing, she got struck, but this is a piece from the news and they never strike us. So let's listen to this piece.
Anya Kane and Kevin Greeley told me that after this young woman who sat on that jury got home to Fort Wayne, she was curious about the case she had just heard. She did some research on social media and then decided to reach out to the podcasters and tell them her story if her identity could be protected. For nearly a month, from jury selection to delivery of the guilty verdict, 12 jurors and 3 alternates lived the Delphi trial and saw things to this day that the general public has never seen about the murders of Abby Williams and Libby German near the Monon High Bridge in February of 2017.
So I imagine a lot of them had no idea what they were in for.
While it took investigators more than 5 years to find Richard Allen and more than 2 years to bring him to court, jurors came to their unanimous verdict in 19 and a half hours of deliberations over the course of 4 days. But from the start, there was uncertainty in the jury room.
And that was the day we took a vote at the end, and it was 3 undecided, 9 guilty.
The juror said she was convinced by Allen's description of a white van that drove up a nearby road that day, something police say only the killer would know. And a trooper's testimony, who said he thought it was Richard Allen's voice that told the girls. And it was Allen's confessions in prison and his confirmation that he was on the bridge the day of the murders and was dressed like Bridge Guy.
After realizing he's Bridge Guy was pretty easy to add all of those things together. But really just things that he reported himself is really what got me closer to guilty. Although it is very eerie, and looking back, I think, like, who would confess that many times that didn't actually do that? Like, I can't think of how that would ever happen.
The juror said that prosecutor Nick McLeland's closing argument, referring to Libby's video of Bridge Guy and Abby hiding the phone, stuck with her throughout deliberations.
When he said that, she always wanted to help police solve crimes, like, that broke my heart. And that they both, hid their phone, got the video, and if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have found Richard Allen. So that stuck with me. Does anyone disagree that Richard Allen's Bridge Guy? And no one did. You really can't. I think we made the right decision. I really do.
After spending a month on the Delphi jury, this juror told us that Judge Fran Gull told them, if you ever get called for jury duty again, come see me. We'll get you a pass. In the newsroom, Russ McQuaid.
Jeez, man. Because I kept asking myself, what the hell did these jurors convict him on because she literally, the juror stated that they discounted Sarah Carbo muddy and bloody. They didn't even believe her. So they felt she was combative, all the things. They just discounted her statement at all in deliberation. Then she said they discounted the damn bullet. The one thing that ties the man to the scene of the crime. Of course, bridge guy, the way I was dressed, I'm there, ties him to the Mona and High Bridge, not to the crime scene. And this darn white van. Why everybody got obsessed with that white van, like it's like this little Hail Mary come running in with Brad Weber. Let me just run in here and sit down and talk about my white van for a minute. The white van that was been talked about for a long, long time. It's odd. And to convict the man on, like he said, even the so-called expert, that's his voice. You weren't a legit voice expert. And I was seeing on Twitter this morning, there's a really good defense attorney I follow. Her name is Mercy Wright, in case you guys have heard of her or not heard of her. But she makes some really great comments, but insight into defense strategies and things of that nature. And there was something she mentioned this morning. I don't know if I can find it right now, but it was a comment back to somebody else who was made a post on Delphi, and she was clarifying about some of this stuff they did is going to be a problem on appeal for the prosecution, and even things with the juror. The expert testimonies, that like the expert itself wasn't quite an expert, so things like that, and the fact that there was never Dauber hearings done like with Karen Reed, that is to determine if your expert is even going to be able to testify or not, the weight versus the science and things like that. So but this white van, convinced it was his voice and convinced he was a bridge guy. Is that literally what they convicted him on in the end? Because I just don't feel like that was enough. I know everybody has a different view on it, but I don't know, that white van bothers me just like Brad Weber bothers me. But to say that, well, we decided that was his voice when they don't even prove that voice came from that man on the bridge, you know what I mean? And she talked about watching their alternate video, that they knew that it was altered, and it was a whole crazy thing there. I just don't get it as to why I'd like to hear from some of the other jurors' takes on the situation. I wonder if any more will speak out. Right, Forrest? It'd be nice to hear from some of the other jurors and get their perspectives on what happened in the deliberations. If they have the same takes she does, because she even talked about how they were discussing the mannerisms of the all of the attorneys, and talking about how Stacey Diener was well dressed, and like, I don't care. Come to court looking decent like you're supposed to, but I really don't need a description of what you're wearing, and I'm not that girl. I'm not all into fashion. I just care about you need to get up there and do your job, and I want to hear you do the job. I want to hear the good parts. All right, let me take this down. But yeah, I do hope that some other jurors decide to come out, and the defense wants to hear from the jurors as well. They want to get their take on things so they can learn going forward, and it may also help them out on appeal. Yeah, Lindsay, she mentioned those confessions, and how when they broke up into their little groups, she was part of the group that did the confessions, and they were trying to map out the medication timeline. If they did do that properly, they would have seen when the medication started and when those darn confessions started. But she acts like that had nothing to do with it. The psychosis, the medication, the solitary confinement. And she said that when they watched the interrogation video, that they just, chalked it up as to normal interrogation stuff. Nothing bad, nothing wrong with the Reed method, nothing wrong with lying to the man and taking his wife into the next room and lying to her. It's one thing to lie to I don't agree with them lying to a suspect, because a strong suspect that knows they're innocent is going to continue to fight that. But you got people who will break down eventually. But to take the wife in the other room, that's what blew me away the most, was taking Kathy Allen into a separate room during Rick's accidental interrogation. I'll come down here and get your car. Oh, then it turns into an interrogation. But I'm going to take Kathy over here in this room, and I'm going to tell her, without a doubt, we already have scientific proof that's your husband's voice and your husband on the bridge that day, and he killed those little girls. What is that woman supposed to think when you telling her you got experts already proving it? That's a very confusing state of mind to be in. You love your husband and you believe in him, but you got this damn cop sitting here telling you we've got scientific proof. Wow. That really bothered me the wrong way. So how she could take any of those statements and, but on another note, now moving right along, Joe and I were going to have like a send-off party for Superintendent Doug Carter because, yay, he's retiring. I guess most of you have heard about that. If you don't know who he is, Doug Carter is a superintendent of the Indiana State Police, and he was pretty much the face of the investigation. Came out and did all those interviews, gave us all the word salad, all the press conferences, all the one day you'll know what we know things. 5 years of an amazing investigation we got going here, but we don't have the guy, Doug Carter. He's retiring, and there's not a whole lot out there on his retirement. Go figure. But this piece was come out like a few weeks ago, and it's about his retirement. We're going to just look at that for a moment and maybe throw some shade at him. Right, Lindsay? Exactly. It's one thing to be confronted with your husband did this, whether he did or not. You don't ever know, especially you think you know your spouse, but obviously there's women who don't. We got serial killers married and with families for years and years and years, and no one knew. So, but to think you know your husband and to know that he would not do something like that and then be confronted with that bullshit in that room, all that, and everything that she's been through, and the back and forth she probably went through secretly, trying to figure all this out. But she's amazing because she stood up and supported her husband. You know what I mean? And when I think she finally felt stronger and felt like they had a fighting chance when that defense team got a hold of everything. I think that really lifted Kathy, and probably seeing support on social media also helped her out. I hope it did. All right, let's watch this little piece about Doug Carter and see if y'all got anything snarky to say about him. Feel free to let it go in chat. It would help if I get that screen up there, wouldn't it? I made some shorts I haven't released yet on him, so his word salad.
Police agency to the next person to run it once Governor-elect Mike Braun takes office. That happens next month. I talked with Carter about his time running the agency, the ups, the downs, the tragedies, and the grief.
The enormity and the pressure of this desk is very real.
12 years after taking the helm of Indiana State Police, Doug Carter is just days away from his final time behind his desk. An exit interview of sorts, we are the first to sit down with him for this conversation. His 4-decade career in law enforcement will end when Governor-elect Mike Braun's term begins.
My entire life has been this, and I remember when I called my dad and told him I got that interview with Mike Pence for this position.
His tenure as the state's top cop lasted 2 governors and stretched through event after event. In just the first 6 months of last year, 5 members of law enforcement died while on duty. That included 2 state troopers, James Bailey and Aaron Smith. It was Carter's grim duty to present the American flags that draped the caskets to their heartbroken families. It was the 2016 deaths of 4 black girls in Florida that sent chilling ripples through Carroll County after they died in an arson that today remains unsolved.
Is that case still solvable?
Yes.
What makes you say that?
People talk about and fall back on this. I think it's an excuse of a cold case. If people are alive, it's not cold. So
If people are alive, it's not cold. You mean the little girls that died, or their mother, or the people who started the fire intentionally? He's so weird with his words. Man.
to the person out there, I would say that set that fire, I would say to them, I don't believe you intended to kill those 4 beautiful little girls. I don't believe you did. Was it?
If he doesn't... Okay. The fire was ruled accidental, then re-ruled arson after a lengthy investigation. And we're going to go into the Florida fire one night. I mean, I got a lot of information on it. It was a horrible, devastating fire. One officer just risked his life to get in there and save these little girls. You don't think they intended to kill them? It wasn't murder? What was the intention? Send a signal to somebody? Send them a message? To what? Get out? He makes no fucking sense.
Was it murder? No, I don't think it was. I don't think it was. I think there was something else. I don't know what that something else is, but there was something else.
Still in the early stages of that investigation, another emerged. The grisly 2017 murders of Abby Williams and Libby German, the years-long search for a killer, and the subsequent murder trial of Richard Allen all happened under Carter's purview. It was not a state police case, but Carter was often the public face of that investigation.
We believe you are hiding in plain sight.
He says it still touches him deeply. Abby, Libby, and the girls who died in that fire, Kiana, Kiara, Cariel, and Keone, all written by hand and sit on Carter's desk. A judge's gag order still limits what Carter can say about the Delphi murders.
No, I can't think of a case in our history that had gained that much attention for that length of time.
Have you run into political influence in the agency's investigations?
If I would not be sitting here if I did. I would retire that day.
Carter tells me he has also used his final years as the head of state police to push for changes in policing, sparked by the deaths of young black men at the hands of police. Most notably, the death of George Floyd in 2020. He wants a change in police culture.
And I got a lot of haters along the way by trying to embrace it. And what I'm talking about is the color of my skin versus the color of yours. And having those conversations with people. Because what I saw was not okay. And if you weren't a police officer after George Floyd, you don't have any idea. You don't understand.
Some people would, as you're obviously aware, look and say, what does this white man know about police reform? What does this white man know about, all of it, right? To those kind of things, what would you say?
I don't. Don't expect me to. But I want to understand the difference. We're a damaged profession, and it's going to take a while for us to climb out of that.
The microscope that law enforcement policing is under, is it deserved?
Absolutely. It's okay. We should not be ashamed of it.
Is there one thing you could point to and say, man, I'm glad I accomplished that?
Now we have a vibrant and active and alive aviation unit. Our laboratory system. We had a 45-year-old laboratory system, or the Capitol, the buildings, the availability.
Whoa, they had a really creepy old laboratory system, and I guess it was so bad they couldn't test DNA.
All of technology, the scientists.
Or any evidence.
For working in broom closets. I'm leaving the recruitment thing broken.
Working in broom closets. Hey, did y'all hear that? Damn. They don't have a very good lab. Sorry, Miss, whatever your name was, ballistic lady, you working in a crappy ass lab.
I've not fixed it. And that's one of my biggest regrets. One of my biggest regrets. We have less troopers today in Indiana than we had in 1984 when I started.
In the 40 years.
Ooh, you wonder why that is. That's interesting, isn't it? less than when he started. They're all like, ooh, that Doug Carter dude's in charge. We ain't being state troopers. Hell no. Or they might have got paid more to go be a state trooper somewhere else. Huh.
Since Carter has had lots of time to think about what comes after he steps away. Carpentry, he says, working to carve detailed pieces of wood while retired. As we finish our conversation, he sits behind his own intricately carved desk made by the Department of Corrections.
Did y'all catch that? What he's going to do with retirement? He's going to carve wood. What kind of wood? Runes? I don't know. DB, we're going to play your little Twitter thing here in a second. I pulled it up on my phone to look at it, and I'm going to drop a link to his Twitter in just a moment and play that for you guys. He's always got some good, hilarious stuff.
For the next person to sit here, he has these words.
For that person, what would you tell that person?
Well, I'm going to write him a letter. I'm going to leave it right here on this star and on my badge when I leave. But the crux of that letter is always care about others, not yourself. But I've never done what I knew was wrong. I have never done what I knew was wrong. I made some bad decisions, but never that I knew, never vindictive, never with a personal benefit in mind.
Carter politely declined to tell me exactly what he plans to write in that letter. It was something he said he wanted to keep between he and whomever it is next to take over the seat that he occupies.
Damn. That guy just never gives it a rest with his word salad, y'all. So I did wrong things. I just didn't know it was wrong at the time, right? I mean, you're a grown man and a man of the law. Shouldn't you know right from wrong? Expect us to know right from wrong, right? If we were in Indiana doing wrong, he's going to expect us to know right from wrong. You're a grown-up. Dude, so are you. Let me go pull up this Twitter, guys, and so we can get a little laugh this morning. Where is it at? Let me pull up DB's. Where you at, dude? There we go. Here he is. I love that you have pinned to your Twitter the fake Allen Google searches, because when I see it, I see Jennifer Coffindaffer. I mean, I was on Twitter, or excuse me, on YouTube, and for some reason, I'm not like notified of her stuff, but it popped up on my feed. She was about to go live. I was like, let me just go for shits and giggles. And she was a nervous wreck, holding that phone in her hand going, oh my God, I have Rick Allen's Google searches. And they were the fake ones that DB made. And her favorite one on there was the question that she thought Rick asked was, is Jerry Holman really a cop? I was like, holy shit, lady. Okay, let me drop his link here for you guys to go check if you want to follow a good Twitter feed. Yeah. Uh-oh, did it work? Yeah, okay. All right, let me get the screen up here and we'll get this playing.
In that corner, whoa, whoa, bitch, hold on tight, cause I tweaking this bitch, start letting shit go. In that corner, whoa, whoa, bitch, hold on tight, cause I tweaking this bitch, start letting shit go.
I think I did something wrong, hold on. Okay, here we go.
In that corner, whoa, whoa, bitch, hold on tight, cause I tweaking this bitch, start letting shit go. In that corner, whoa, whoa, bitch, hold on tight, cause I tweaking this bitch, start letting shit go. In that corner, whoa, whoa, bitch, hold on tight, cause I tweaking this bitch, start letting shit go. In that corner, whoa, whoa, bitch, hold on tight, cause I tweaking this bitch, start letting shit go. In that corner, whoa.
It says, the end of an era of a beautiful prose, a heart on a sleeve, and Doug's most prized possession, his state police uniform. What waits the Riddler of the Indiana? A children's book, an online newsletter, or puzzle about puzzles. I'm sorry, starting into his old uniform. Today's the day Doug retired. GB, you throw some good shit together, dude.
Bitch, hold on tight, cause I tweak in this bitch, I letting shit go. Herb in that corner, whoa. Bitch, hold on tight, cause I tweak in this bitch, I letting shit go.
Uh-oh. I was gonna get off there. I'll have to go back.
In that corner, whoa.
You guys. I love the laugh. I love a Yes, Doug Carter, in case for those of you who do not know, has left the building, retired. New governor was sworn in, and don't know if that had anything to do with it or not, but it was time for Doug to go, right? So Doug Carter has officially retired. Like I said, Joe and I were going to have a retirement party. We were hoping to do it last night, but Joe wasn't feeling well, so we had to postpone it. So I'm not sure if we're going to do that later this evening or not, but it was going to be kind of like a roast of Carter, just for shits and giggles. Goodbye, dude. We're in Tennessee. What's going on in Tennessee? Oh. A Tennessee family was shot at while sledding. Man arrested. Didn't seem to like trespassers. Well, good Lord, they're just out sledding? Is that like on the news this morning? I was trying to catch some of the morning news before I came on because that's some of the things we do want to cover. Let me get back to where this was at here. See if there was anything else I wanted to show you guys. Oh, we were going to go over that Karen Reed thing a little bit. That's interesting. I'll have to look into that, the Tennessee family shot. There's been like, I don't know if you guys had followed the Pike murders. There was just some court activity in that case. There's some other things coming up we're going to be covering mostly in the evenings on our longer streams. We'll do case updates in the mornings like this too if something new pops up for different like court hearings coming up and things like that. But yeah, anytime you want us to look at a case, let us know. How many of you have been following that Karen Reed case, like following it, like know stuff about it, like more than I do? I just know the players, I know what allegedly happened, and I know what the the defense says happened. And thank you, Possum Friend. Everyone have a donut for Dougie today and solve a riddle in remembrance. And don't forget to do your magic hands where those photos will merge together. And thank you for becoming a member. Okay. So this is a piece from Court TV, and I'm going to let it start because then I'm going to go and grab a cup of coffee while it's playing. It won't take me but a second. Let me get it pulled up here. Let me try to get to a spot where we can get past the... Okay. Now this is... Now, this is about the dog bite expert that they want to bring in. Yeah, I'm going to try to get a guest on to help us get caught up on the Reed case, because she's got a second trial coming up, from what I understand. I have no clue if this woman's innocent or guilty. I see a lot of evidence that says she may not be, but I see evidence that says she could have been. But then when you look at how they collected evidence, it's like, whoa, So, yeah, I'm planning to try to get somebody in that does know a little more about the case. Maybe Sleuthy. She knows all of it. Okay, let's play this. Welcome in, everyone. Thanks for coming in and giving us a watch. If you guys don't mind, like and subscribe. We appreciate it. It certainly helps get the word out. And you guys have been doing so great about, I'm so bad about even asking about that, I forget. But you guys have been doing amazing with that. Thank you. I appreciate it, because you're getting us out there and getting us noticed. All right, here we go with this piece.
And it's all right here, obtained by Court TV. This ruling, the dog bite expert, Dr. Marie Russell, will be allowed to testify in the Reed trial beginning April 1st. And this, according to the case file that we just obtained. The Commonwealth had tried to exclude her testimony in the upcoming trial, and her opinion that marks on John O'Keefe's arm were the result of a dog attack. Here's her testimony during that 2-day Daubert hearing. Take a listen.
Do you have an opinion with regard to the nature and source of the wounds on Mr. O'Keefe's right arm?
Yes.
What is that opinion?
Those wounds were inflicted by a dog attack.
Do you hold that opinion to a reasonable degree of medical certainty?
Yes.
You've opined that these are bites, teeth going in and out of those holes all the way up and down the arm.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, it is remarkable that there is no dog DNA on any of those holes in the sweater, isn't it?
There's an issue with the collection and transportation of that.
I'd love to talk to you about that. We're going to, but you got to get through my questions first. Okay. It is remarkable. Dog. Okay. Now, there is no dog DNA. Do you think somehow that hurts your cause or your case, for your opinion?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Former pathologist, former ER doctor, former law enforcement officer, but a complicated witness. Dr. Russell, as you know, contacted the defense. Judge Ashley, in the middle of the first trial, was allowed to testify, and it appears she'll be called as a witness for trial 2.
Yes, and as we were discussing, of course, they kind of start all the way over in the Commonwealth, and so they have to do these motions hearings again for the judge to make a ruling. Now, in this memo, the judge also mentioned something, Matt, I'd like you to talk about, and that is that the expert failed to consider all of the evidence.
And that was evident in the cross-examination, including the red plastic on John O'Keefe's shirt, no dog DNA detected, and no comparison between Chloe the dog, her teeth, and marks on John O'Keefe's arm. That was a shocking piece of evidence that we learned about during that 2-day hearing.
Don't you think all that's important, though? Because you know how you can match humans' teeth. I don't know if they can do, like, to a bite. I don't know if they could do that with a dog, because you're talking about when they bite, they, rip down. It's not like a teeth impression. So I don't know if that would even help. She should have considered a little more of that stuff. But I've always, you look at that right there and you try to, in your mind, think hit by a car did that, possibly. But you got to tell me how. And right now, I'm not seeing it. Chloe the dog situation's always bothered me.
That investigators actually made molds of Chloe's mouth.
Oh, okay.
Did you ever discuss going to see Chloe and doing these studies on Chloe so you could see if they were dissimilar to these abrasions?
I was asked to evaluate the wounds.
Do you know that Chloe exists, that we provided notice to you, that we went up and saw Chloe and took molds? Did you know that?
Objection, Your Honor.
Did you know that I was going to allow it? Did you know that, Doctor? I do know that now.
Now that you know that Chloe's available, wouldn't those molds be helpful? Wouldn't you want to look at them and compare them to the distances on the abrasions on Mr. O'Keefe's arm?
Objection, Your Honor.
I don't think it's necessary for many reasons.
All right, Judge Beverly Canoni writes this in her decision just released, the decision to allow the expert, quote, the prosecutors were able to demonstrate during their cross-examination of Russell that her expertise primarily concerns the treatment, not the identification of dog bites, that her evaluation of the abrasions failed to consider all available information, that she has not compared the abrasions with the teeth of the German Shepherd in question, and that her opinion is inconsistent with findings that there was no canine DNA in the area of the victim's clothing near the abrasions. But Judge Beverly Canoni ends her memo by saying that all of that, Judge Ashley, can be addressed in trial in front of the jury on cross-examination.
Boy, especially in this case, I appreciate how detailed she was as to her reasoning. So
Yes.
if there's an appeal, it's very clear why she made her decision. Tell us, what kind of hearing do we expect next in this case?
So we're expecting another Daubert hearing towards the end of the month. That's going to be on the 31st. And that is going to be for the defense expert who testified that the Jen McCabe Google search of how long to die in cold took place at 2 a.m. before John O'Keefe's body was discovered at 34 Fairview, and not at 6 o'clock in the morning, whereas all the other evidence, including from the Cellbrite experts, they say that that was a mistake, a misinterpretation, and that search actually happened at 6.
That's going to be interesting. So they're going to do another Daubert hearing about bringing in that expert. Because this phone stuff is getting crazy. Like we see what over in the Delphi case with Abby's phone. With Libby's phone. Headphones plugged in, headphones unplugged. No, they weren't. Yes, they were. Something was going, all these weird things with the phone. You have the same thing over here in the Karen Reed case with how's long to die in the cold. You know, first of all, who searches that in the middle of the night when someone's dying in the cold? But you know, the times and how they're celebrate this and cast this, all the people are really, because I think so much of it's being used in court now, you know, the digital evidence from cell phones, they're really beginning to question the validity of the data coming in that they're using. You're going to see that hugely played out in the Kohberger case. They're going to dispute that. And that's one of the things Kohberger was going to school for. That's one of the things he knew about this phone data stuff. And so it just feels like because a lot, that's, you know, these days there's cameras everywhere. Everybody's got a phone. We're tracking. Everything's being tracked. So they're really going to start putting a lot of question and want real proof of these things. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So I'm going to be interested in that Daubert hearing. Maybe when they have that hearing, we can we'll go over it here and check that out together.
So that hearing is at the end of the month, and then we look towards the trial, April 1st.
It is going to be one heck of a hearing.
Okay, I didn't realize that trial was April 1st, guys. So I think that'll be my practice run with trials, because I did watch a little bit of her other trial, but not a lot of it, because I was, like I said, I was so deep in doing the Delphi stuff and everything. But I'm really interested in this one. If you guys are interested enough, let me know. I think there are a lot of us interested enough in it. But I want to watch that Daubert hearing. I'll check the dates on that so I can make sure we can go. I think I got to get my roll on, you know, with how I want to do things. So And I know when a hearing is happening live, it's hard to stop and commentate. So I think I may let the hearings play out, take notes, and then come in, 30 minutes later and do a live, and we can go over that hearing and stop and commentate and talk about it. And with trials, we'll figure out how I want to do that. Going live with the trial is great, but you can't really stop and say things. We can type a lot of things. But what do you guys feel about starting the trial a little bit later, like once they do lunch, and then we can go back and stop if we want? That's it. I'm open to suggestions and how you guys would like to do it, if you're interested in something like that. So throw some comments in the comment section. Even after the show, if you're catching us on replay, give me your feedback. Feedback's important. It helps the channel grow. It helps me give you guys what you want. I'm here because I want community. It's kind of weird today up here by myself because I usually have Joe, but I have you guys, and I love reading chat and talking to you guys and seeing your take on things and your ideas, because you guys are smart. And so yeah, whatever I enjoy the feedback because it does help. So yeah, anything you want to see going forward, if there's a certain way you want to see things covered, let me know, and we'll build this community together for us, and go over all kind of different things, because it's what it's all about. I'm checking chat, guys. I'm not ignoring you guys. Let me get this. I just made my screen small. I didn't mean to. What was Chattanooga way? Are you guys all experiencing like super cold weather? I did it again. I just realized there's a button. I had to go jack up my son's mouse because mine stopped working. And he has like a wireless one, and I'm left-handed, so I'm using it with the wrong hand. There's a button over here on the left. When I click it, it takes me out of StreamYard. So sorry about that. Oh, earlier comment. Okay. There was something I was about to say before I clicked myself out of here. I don't remember what it was now. If you guys know about the Crystal Rogers case, because we are going to do a dive into that soon. Crystal Rogers disappeared 8-9 years ago, and I've been following the case since it happened, and there was finally arrest made in the case. Her boyfriend at the time, Brooks Houck, has been arrested. 2 other men were also arrested in connection. During the investigation into Crystal's disappearance, the first year, her father investigated heavily. It's a small town in Kentucky, near where the other case in Kentucky where the judge was shot. So another small town in Kentucky. His brother was a cop. Family had some money and some ties to the community. They eventually arrested Brooke. They have arrested 2 other men in connection. And during the first year, like I said, of the investigation, Tommy Ballard was Crystal's father. He was conducting his own investigation. And I've watched a special that I want to present to you guys where he did so much work. The investigators say he had boxes and boxes, and he was getting close. He knew things. A year into that, Tommy was killed on his property early one morning, getting ready to go hunting with his grandson, Crystal's son. His grandson was standing next to him, and there was a sniper in the woods. Yes, Bardstown. Yes, Kathy and Samantha Netherland. Exactly, needs attention, and we're going to get into that as well. So you guys do know about the case. Great, because we're going to take some deep dives into that. I know they've separated themselves, as far as their trials go. And there was some movement recently with Steve and what's his the son, I can't remember the name right now, the son and father duo that were arrested. But whoever killed Crystal's father, in first they were like, oh, was it a hunting accident? Well, it wasn't. It was murder. And the gun that killed him ended up being tied back to Brooks Houck's brother, who was the cop, Nick, which led to the arrest of the other two gentlemen. And also, we can't forget Officer Ellis. He was also murdered. So we're going to take a deep yes, Bardstown has some secrets, that's for sure. And they're still searching for Crystal. She's never been found. I think it was a month ago, 2 months ago. They have done multiple searches across multiple properties that the Houcks owned. Brooks owned a was it constructions, real estate. He rented out homes, built homes, that sort of thing. So they've I don't think they were arrested in Indiana. I'd have to think they were arrested in Kentucky. I'll have to check though. But anyway, they've searched multiple properties, can't find Crystal. And as of 2 months ago, they did another, FBI came in and did another search at Brooks Houck's grandmother's former property. But if anything turned up, they're not saying. So we will get into that for sure. Yeah, there's been questions about that, or did, because yeah, there's a lot to get into there. And we have the interrogations. Remember, if you guys aren't familiar, there was an interrogation with Brooks Houck where in the middle of the interrogation, he gets a phone call or makes a phone call. I think he gets the phone call, but it's his brother, the cop, and telling him, you just stop the interview. And Brooks played it off like, well, you think I should stop? I just came down here to answer some questions because, I've got nothing to hide. Well, his brother got in trouble. And he actually ended up getting fired. So we'll go, we do have the interrogation videos and things of that nature that we can watch. And Sherry Ballard is Crystal's mother, and she's a very, very strong woman. She's been through it. First, your daughter goes missing. She has 5 children, it's taken Sherry. Eli was the baby, and Brooks had the baby, and I think Brooks's parents ended up with the baby. So it was like a battle over the child. So your daughter is murdered or goes missing, and then a year later, your husband, it's crazy. And that's not even the weirdest part. One weird aspect of this whole thing is when Tommy Ballard, Crystal's dad, was a young man, his sister was 18 years old, and she went missing. Turned out her husband murdered her. And Sherry had shared a story that not long before Crystal disappeared, Brooks was asking questions about the disappearance of Crystal's aunt back in the 60s. Yeah. So it's just, you can't make this stuff up, people, right? Yeah, it really, exactly. That poor child, does he even get to know his family? I know that last I checked now, Sherry was still fighting to get him. So hopefully that will work out. Because now that Brooks is in jail, I believe she should get him. You know what I mean? I side with her completely. Completely. Well, I'm glad you guys know about the case, and we'll definitely take a deep dive into it because it's really one I've been wanting to get into. But there's was so much happening with Delphi, but I think a lot of that we got through these interviews and things like that, and there'll be more coming as those appeals processes proceed. Hopefully, good things will come of that, and just to get justice served. For those of us who aren't sure or don't believe that this is the guy, because I don't believe they proved it. And to hear this goofy juror, and I hate to call her goofy, but she sounded very young and immature. I'm sorry. But to state the reasons you decided he was guilty and you threw out the most important parts, a muddy, bloody guy, which a camera never saw, or anybody else for that matter didn't see that guy except for Sarah. And you threw out this bullet testing stuff because you didn't know if you could trust it. but you trust that's his voice because that state trooper told you so. Okay, whatever. I got to get off that rant because it's going to drive me crazy. Yes, Lawson, Steve, and God, I can't remember the other one's name right now to save my life. Father and son. The son I know had gotten in a car accident, was it? And now it's Joseph. Joseph is the one who is paraplegic. He's in a wheelchair. They're in prison though. But so anyway, I believe their cases were separated instead of being tried together as co-defendants. I believe that's what is happening. So we'll get the latest on the court docs from there, the latest on their hearings, because I do have one of their hearings saved that they recently had that we haven't got a chance to look at. So we'll get into that. And like I said, I'm going to schedule a guest over to get us caught up on this Karen Read stuff. And for those of you, thank you for coming in and subbing up and hitting the like button. It means a lot. Thank you to the new subscribers. We will be doing some members only lives coming out eventually. They're going to pertain to the cases we're following, like deep dives into evidence type stuff. There's a couple of ideas I have, and I want to do a monthly show called The Deliberation Room, where we bring in somebody, a guest, and we talk about one of the big cases we're all following, and we just kind of deliberate the case. I think that'll be fun. And if it's members only, it'll kind of keep the trolls out. You know what I mean? Hopefully. We normally have those here, so it's a good thing. And I tend to let people say what they say unless they cross a line. Free speech matters. But we'll be doing some different things here. This is the morning show, like I said, coffee, and if I can remember how I said it, coffee and true crime conversations. And then on Sundays, I'll be doing what's called Salty Sunday. So we'll get into, whatever's on the agenda that week. We'll get into that and probably get salty about it. Oh, thank you, Forrest. Thank you very much. I'm not real big on self-promotion, but thank you. It does help support the channel. It does cost to run the channel as far as StreamYard and the YouTube Premium. But other than that, I'm not able to be boots on the ground yet. Joe is. Joe was recently monetized. I think Joe was streaming a trial this morning. But Joe's, I know that donations to Joe would probably really go to help with that sort of work as well. But we want to, I really want to try to find good, interesting things to bring to you guys. I want to bring the stories you want to see, cold cases you want to talk about, cases in your area that are hitting home to you that you feel like need some attention. Hit me up. Again, my email is on the YouTube channel, but it's saltysleuth@gmail.com. Hit me up there. You can find me on Twitter as well, Salty Sleuth, and DM me, whichever way you prefer to reach out, or leave us a note in the comments section, because I always go back and read the comments. Even after the lives are over and done, I go back and check out the comments. And there was a lot of interaction on that last live, and I appreciate that. And True Grit Crime came out and co-hosted with me. Joe was there. She was a great guest. We love having her, and we got a lot of great feedback on that show as well. So we do seriously appreciate it. And I hope you guys like the morning show. We went on for like about an hour. I figured I usually go 2.5 on our nighttime streams, but in the mornings we're going to keep it about an hour and a half long. It depends on the conversations we get into. But did you hear about China and Blake Dickus case, Franklin, Indiana? Blake was no. Let's see. I can write this down. That's in Franklin, Indiana. Another Indiana case. Goodness, see, y'all, Florida done passed the buck, right? Florida man said, hold my beer, go to Indiana. It's a cold case. Okay. We'll check into it because I do like looking into cold cases. I love to do the true crime in real time, as I call it, like we do with Idaho and Delphi and Karen Reed. But there'll be lulls in those cases or when there's not a trial. So I'm always looking for good things to get into. And cold cases are one of them because you never know who's watching, right? And what attention you can draw to a case. We have a local girl, 11 years missing. We don't know where she is. We know where her car was found. We know some things about the case. I think some new things have happened in the case movement lately, and I want to get into that. And so anything you guys want to talk about, just let us know, for real. Goodness, see, Joe's been going through a lot of the Indiana cases as well. He's done a couple of streams on some local Indiana cases, and he really wants to get into covering more of those as well. But we'll definitely check them out. Oh, you're good. You're good. And if we keep this like to an hour, hour and a half, maybe the replay won't be so bad on you guys if you choose to do that. But like I said, this is our first like official True Crime in the Morning show. So we'll get our groove and get us a little format going for sure. But I certainly appreciate all you coming in and checking it out and being with me and engaging in the conversation, because that's so super important. But we're going to check out for now. Like I said, I appreciate you guys coming in. It's always a good time when you're here, and just enjoy it. And not tonight, I won't do a stream tonight, but probably tomorrow night we'll do a live stream and get into some of that Kohberger stuff that I've been wanting to go to. I got to do some more research tonight on that, because I want to make sure I bring and discuss the key points I want to be able to hit on for you guys instead of just kind of going at it blindly. I don't like to do that. But anyway, great. You guys have a
Thank you all for watching this here video. Please like and subscribe.
Have I been on mute, or did it mute me when that started? That's crazy. I looked down and I'm like, did they hear me talking or at anything? I'm curious if anyone who deep dives this case, if anyone knows if Jerry Holman, Doug Carter, etc., if any of them have expensive houses or seem to have. It's been talked about. Thank you, Forrest. I was like, did they hear anything I said? Yeah. Need some Z's. Gosh, that's a perfect name. Yeah, it's been talked about. So anyway, all right, guys, again, I appreciate you coming in. Thank you so much and have a fabulous day.
Thank you all for watching this here video. Please like and subscribe and follow. Much love from Little Yaz to each of you. Thank you all for watching this here video.